Yay, we're live. Hello, all my friends, all my mayhem makers. How is everyone? It's been 6 weeks. I've missed everyone. I missed my Monday nights with everyone, but I had to take a break. My mind needed a break. It was summer. I hope everyone's been great. I want to welcome everyone. I've missed everyone. I can't wait. Season 2, we're here. We are going to have lots of amazing guests, lots of amazing topics and chats, and we're going to bring awareness and be advocates for so many important things. So welcome. I see some of the chat has so many people. Yay. Hello, my friends. I see Tim. What's going on, Tim? Glad to see you're here. Rebecca. Hey, mama. What's up? ¿Cómo estás? All right. We got Mackenzie. What's up, Mackenzie? We are dancing. Were you dancing to that, Tim? Were you dancing to that? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Yay. This is so great. Okay. I feel good. We're live. LinkedIn. What's up? YouTube. What's up? Twitch family. Having some problems over there, but we're all good. Everyone's good. I hope everyone's good. We have a great topic today. Super important. Today is National Grief Awareness Day. I didn't know how many people knew that, but I thought this was a great topic to go ahead and embrace and have a spectacular guest tonight to join me so we could have this talk. So let me know how I sound, if my sound sounds good, if my voice is clear, and I can always turn it up. I don't want to hurt anyone, but we're here, season 2. I'm going to go all the way to December. We're going to make it next couple months. We're going to be here every week, Monday nights. Okay, so as you know, I like to bring guests that love to share their stories, their expertise, and talk about all this mayhem that we have in our lives. It's really fantastic, and I hope that everyone enjoys the show today and enjoys me in this screencast. So let's see, what do I normally say? I know what I normally say. I always say thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. We are here to share powerful stories and experiences to destigmatize and normalize mental health, disability, and trauma. We all have it. We all share it. This is a place where we can share our mayhem. We want to create opportunities through connections and be a voice to break all those stigmas and encourage acceptance in our community. I always add my trigger warning and encourage discretion as we discuss things that can be difficult and mature in nature. And these are solely our opinions. We are not experts in the sense like medical doctors or attorneys. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to StreamYard for powering my show. I love StreamYard. And as always, welcome to my guests. Welcome to my audience. I'm so happy to be live again. And we're going to get to it. I need to invite our guest out here because before you know it, this hour will go and it will fly by. So let's go ahead. Let me see if I can get my introduction ready. She is an amazing wonderful soul that I met recently, and we had an amazing conversation, and I was like, yes, this is going to be great. She's a Greif Recovery Specialist. She's a speaker. She's also an author, and if you didn't know, has this really great book. So we're going to have to talk about that. She's also a coach, and she wants to share with us her insight into grief on National Grief Awareness Day. Yay, I'm so happy she's here. This episode is dedicated to raising awareness for individuals that cope with loss with the purpose to offer resources, and we want to increase our compassion and understanding for support of those who are grieving in the grief process and those that have felt grief. So it's really important, and with everything that's been going on the last 1.5 to 2 years, and especially now with the news, it's really important that we do have this conversation. So my guest tonight is Michele Mariscal. She includes her background with grief recovery, health coaching, and other just amazing things. Her past has really helped her create her new professional direction. I don't know. And, she's dealing with the depression and the anxiety, and all this grief has really moved her to be able to provide meaningful and contribution to other people's lives. It's so nice to have her. I'm so excited. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her out, and I'm going to change up the scenery. Hello, Michele.
Hi, DJ. Hi, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Such a joy, such a pleasure.
And one of the things as you were introducing yourself that I think is so pertinent to the world of grief, and something that I realized for myself, you are so full of joy. And I remember there was a pivotal moment in my grief journey where I realized, oh my God, I don't even know how to touch joy anymore. And that's when I knew that I had to continue looking for tools and resources for myself, because I'm typically a very joyful person. And when you are able to really move with grief and allow it to move through you, you do find this ability to return to joy. Now, that doesn't mean that memories might not surface again. However, when you have really allowed yourself to process and recognize that this is something that we can move through if we allow ourselves, we can have both that joy. And even one of the people I interviewed for my book said this. He said, you know, Michele, it was such an interesting thing for me. The moment that I realized I could experience this continuum of joy that included this piece of sadness, having lost my wife, and yet I am still alive and I have joy in my life. So thank you for bringing your joy to us in that way.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Oh. Do you hear feedback?
I don't hear.
Okay.
You guys hear?
Let me know if you hear feedback in the chat. I think I hear a little feedback, and I don't know if it's from something that's open in a second window or if it's me. So I guess I'm gonna have to figure out the audio as we continue. So my apologies for any audio issues. We'll clear it up as we go. It's just the way it goes when we're live, and it's not a big deal. But I just wanted to make sure, because this conversation is important, and I just wanted to make sure that we really allow a safe space for conversation and to let individuals know that feeling those feelings, going through that, it's okay. And there's individuals out there that are there to support, and more of us should be more comfortable with supporting individuals in the grief process through the stages of grief. And I know we're going to talk about stages of grief.
Yeah, did you want me to talk about that now?
It's up to you, honey, wherever you feel, wherever the conversation moves you, you know, because I know that right now, again, with everything that's going on and what we've been going through this last 1.5 to 2 years, and now I'm in Florida, so we all know that Florida is not doing well when it comes to, you know, unfortunately, the virus. But, you know, it's taking lives, and not to mention other issues going on internationally around the world. You know, we have to honestly honor our fellow veterans, fallen, and those grieving families, military members that we've lost. So, I mean, it's just a lot going on. It's not any one thing, and it could be your own family member, someone, you know, a friend that we've all lost, going through this process, hearing of unfortunately losing loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I just appreciate the time to be able to talk about this.
Yes. And I think that is, you know, part of when we talk about growing through grief, part of that process is recognizing, what am I learning? How am I growing? What's new? What is coming out of this situation? And over the last 1.5 years, I have never heard the word grief and this openness to conversation as much as I have in all the years past. So I do think that's a benefit, because typically the grief process of the experience that we're having, it can be a very lonely and isolating experience. You know, the definitions that we use about grief are: grief is the normal and natural reaction to loss. And then what we realize is there's nothing normal and natural about the way we act around grief in our culture. When you look
Okay.
at, yeah, and what I mean by that is, I did a lot of study of indigenous cultures and places
Ooh.
around the world that as a community do grief together. And that's the antithesis. That's the exact opposite of how we do it here in the United States. It's
Oh.
very it very much has a sense of I'm alone in this, and that myth. There's a myth called grieve alone. Sometimes that happens to us out of the process of some of the comments that we hear from people. But I'm always encouraged in different spiritual traditions. There are ways. I'm not saying all of the U.S. is not so good at grief. However, as a rule, as a culture, on the whole, we're not. Definitely in different spiritual traditions, there are ways that people are supported in that process.
That's so
And
important, that support.
it is. It's so
Talk a lot about support. Getting through anything, any type of mental health, mental illness, any type of disability, any type of trauma, support. That's just one of those critical parts of the healing and managing, coping, whatever it is you call. I know different people have different terms. So, but as you're going through it.
Yeah. And one of the things I'd like to share too, because I do hear from people this thing that kind of goes like this. Well, I have no idea what to say. I've never experienced anything like that. I don't feel equipped. And what I say to that is we are all equipped with the most important tool, which is our heart. And when we are able to just connect with people, knowing that and sometimes that's the best thing to say is, I have no idea what to say, or I have no understanding of what you're going through, but I want you to know I'm here. I'm here.
That's it.
Yeah, support. Yeah.
I'm here, or what can I do?
Yeah.
Or I don't know what to say, but I would love to help in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Just being open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oftentimes I was just going to comment on that. How can I help? One of the things that can be really helpful is to be specific about that. A very common thing that happens to us in grieving is we get very mentally confused and brain fogged. One of the things I remember is a simple decision like, should I have salmon or chili for dinner tonight? Like that just took me over the top of what my mentally could handle. So when we talk about wanting to offer ourselves in something like, how can I help? See if there is something specific, like if they have childcare and they need to go pick up their child, maybe being very specific. Hey, can I help go pick up your daughter? Or something like that.
That's great. Yes, we got Katie J here. Thank you, Katie J, for popping through. He's everywhere. He's on all the lives. He's such a great person. So thank you for joining us. I haven't seen you in a while. I know I haven't been on in a while, so miss you, Katie J.
I know, doesn't it? Salmon, yes. I agree.
Oh, goodness. Yes, I love salmon too. I love fish and seafood. And I was out on the water yesterday. It was the weekend, and so I was craving seafood. You're on a little piece of fish or crab or something.
Yeah.
But those simple, getting back to topic, those simple decisions that would just be so what you would think, oh, nothing to it, can really just take a lot of your unnecessary, what is it, energy, just because you're so consumed by, right? Like you said, that brain fog, and you're just, in this whole other place, that those simple decisions are just very difficult. So I like what you said about being direct, offering them something specifically. Can I help you with the kids? Or let me bring you something to eat? Or when's your next appointment to something? Or let me take you out to do something that they enjoy.
Yeah. Being very specific. And then too, just knowing then that again, a lot of the times we have this sense that we want to give them some advice or wisdom or thoughts. And really the best thing to do, again, is to be, we call it a heart with ears, to be a heart with ears. And one of the best things that one of my coworkers said to me when I came back to work after 3 weeks of hospice with my mom and her death was, Michele, I want you to know I'm here if you feel like talking, and if you don't feel like talking, I'm just here. And it was one of the best things that anybody had said to me.
Yeah.
Support. Yeah.
So. Going back to that support and quiet support. It doesn't have to be talking about the grieving itself or any of the little things related to grieving, right? It's really just helping them get through the day-to-day, bringing back normalcy.
And if they do want to talk, absolutely. A lot of times it's really helpful if you make this sense of heartfelt listening and just let them know, I'm here to listen if you want to share about what happened or anything about what happened. And the key to this is being very careful to just listen and not interrupt, not ask for clarification, not have a thought about
what they do here or right, yeah, like handle things.
I'm going to go into one of the myths because this is it can be so subtle. But there's a way often in our conversation and the way that we're attempting to support someone that we may say something that takes on the myth. It just takes time. And the reason that in the grief, so I'm a grief recovery method specialist, and the reason that we talk about these myths is that, in fact, time may go by, but if you have not had the adequate processing, you haven't been able to fully move and express your grief, it settles into your body. And again, when we talk about trauma, like that's like a little piece of trauma that settles into your body. And one of the things I'm noticing as I work with clients in COVID is that's exactly what happened. The stress and the strain of COVID put them in such a state of recognition that, oh my gosh, I still have not dealt with my son who died 10 years ago. And it was surfacing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's in our psyche as trauma. It may be in our body as aches and pains and yeah.
Wow. And it can come out in so many different ways, right? When we don't handle different types of trauma and we hold on to that stuff, carry that moving forward and through our perspective, into our approaches and how we handle things. So I know that that's really important. And with grieving, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about grieving, honestly. This is not a topic. I know that my mom was a nurse and she's worked, there's a deep desire for hospice, and when she loved working as a hospice nurse in those final stages of life. And she would talk a lot about family members and how different families handle things in different ways. And I think belief systems seem to be a thread that she's seen in how different families deal with grief. So can you talk a little bit about that and how different families handle grief and how maybe, I don't know, continue with that support. but understanding that there are different ways that it is expressed and given to our belief systems that pre-exist.
Yeah, and let me loop back to the stages. We did mention that, and this is something kind of as a newer thought, I think, for a lot of people, that when I work with people, I dissuade them. I try to encourage them that there are no set stages. And the reason that we want to do that is to allow people their own unique expression of their grief. Maybe you never go to anger, but if we tell people there's these stages of grief and they're waiting for this anger to happen, they may feel like, well, I guess I'm not doing it right. But that's not the case. In fact, there are many different models of stages of grief. And the thing that actually helped me do when I was really looking around for resources, when I realized, oh, there's a whole lot of people researching this. The original stages of grief came out of work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but her work was focused around people moving toward death. So it was with living people who were moving toward death. And then somewhere along the line, everybody took it into the world of grieving. Like, this is what, yeah.
Right,
so
that makes sense to me.
And what all those words mean and all those models are a lot of different emotions. And that is what's true. You may experience a myriad of emotions, several at the same time sometimes. So,
right.
Yeah.
So don't expect just 5 stages. Okay, it's a myth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Carl. Good to see you. Yes, episode 25. Who would have thought? Sometimes you just like, wait, what? No. So, but thank you for stopping by. Thank you so much for your support, my friend.
Yeah, everybody. Wow, it's so great to have everybody here. I'm looking at, we're just loving our salmon conversation. It is dinner time, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, it's later for you guys.
Oh, yeah, Eastern time, and I think KDJ's Central time. He's in Texas, so that's what happens. You get these little side conversations, and it's just the way it goes. It's all right. It's all right. It's
good. Yeah,
it is great. Good. But yes,
you were talking about family. I diverged. Let me go back to family.
Yeah. Well, yes. Because of limited experience that I do have, and what was taught to me, and what, how I've been taught to deal with grieving, right? So I was raised in a religious home, and faith was important, and you put your faith in it. So, and that brings comfort to many. That brings a lot of comfort. So I know how important that is. And my mom, families that have faith or have these systems where they can really let it go seem to have an easier time grieving.
Yes. And that's when I mentioned about in our culture, we don't do grief as well. And we do find within spiritual communities, there is more support and there is more of that ability. And even in that, we may find that some of these myths are still pretty prevalent. In my family, it was kind of like grieve alone. So being a military dependent, we were never around our extended family. We would go visit them. I think I met them 5 times in my young life, up until the time I was 19 or 20. So because they lived all on the East Coast. And so, first of all, I knew them, but I didn't know them. But, my grandparents died, and I just recall that I knew it, but I never saw my mom or dad grieve. So what I learned about it was, oh, that must be something you just do on your own, like you do that alone. So that's one example of really
openness to it. There wasn't conversations about it. There
right.
was no expression of those emotions.
Right. So we kind of learn, well, you don't talk about it. Like it's not open conversation.
Yeah,
And the other one too,
taboo.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
And people really trying to be strong for each other. Be strong is another one of the myths. Um, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And other conversations as well. Yes, I know.
Oh, try that salmon, Kenny.
He's so chatty. Yes, try my salmon. Kenny, did you? Hey, buddy. He keeps those conversations spicy. Oh goodness, where were we? Oh, I might get all like sidetracked over these conversations if I'm not like trying to stay laser focused.
Be strong. And the thing I wanted to say about be strong as a myth, it is oftentimes, if we have learned that as a child and that was modeled to us, it oftentimes, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's very common if parents lose a child that their relationship does not sustain through that. If they have strong, maybe strong spiritual faith together, maybe, but it's very common that people split up. And part of the reason for that is there's a sense of being strong for the other. There can be a part of that, like, I can't fall apart for you. I need to support you. Yeah, it can be very, and again, this is another definition of grief that I didn't say. It's the conflicting feelings, the confusion of any change in a habit or pattern. Yeah. So
Familiar? Yes. Or if you're happy or if you're laughing and maybe the other one is not, and then it's like those conflicting emotions because maybe you're not in the same state I'm in. So yes, I can see how that could trigger or how that could cause conflict, interpersonal relationship. Daniel, shout out to you. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for your support. I know it's been a minute. Thank you. I know you appreciate these conversations, so it's always nice to have support and have everyone stop by. So thank you. But yeah, again, these types are like having these conversations and saying it's okay to say you're grieving. It's okay to let people know that you may need or to give you space, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I love that you're helping me understand, how to be more compassionate, how to be more supportive. And maybe to catch some of those myths or biases that we don't, you'll get through it, or time will take care, time heals all wounds, like what you were making reference to about time. So just, things I didn't know, and like even interpersonal, how that can be so taxing and really just take a toll in relationship, just compounding, right? Trauma.
Yeah. And one of the things I always like to say with parents of younger ones is, and I'm so happy, I have seen a couple of movies, and okay, guys, honestly, I've been binging Netflix and Amazon Prime a lot lately.
Yeah.
Like,
nothing wrong with that.
But there have been some really good examples of parents doing things that actually support their child grieving, because a lot of times, think of when a child loses a pet. It's very common. I mean, as a parent, you don't want your child to be sad, so we might do something like, oh, it's okay, we'll go get you a new puppy on Saturday. But what I've been noticing is we are starting to have healthier expressions of parents, asking the child, do you want to have a funeral, like, and digging the hole in the ground, and whatever it is, like saying something to acknowledge their pet that they lost. That really helps a child grow with a healthy sense of, it's okay to feel this way and I can process it. Yeah, it's a really healthy beginning.
Good. That is so important. We can talk a little bit more about kids. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much. That is so sweet and so kind.
Mm-hmm.
That is so sweet. Thank you for popping through.
We have quite a few with us now. Do y'all have any questions? Anything that, feel free to pop any questions in there.
Ask questions. Help me out. Make my job easier. But this is such a good topic. Again, we don't know. Sometimes we don't know what to say. Or when someone returns back to the job, an employee, a coworker, right?
Yeah.
Being considerate or careful, or just, acknowledgement of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's just 3 days. Is that what they normally give you? 3 days? And then,
yeah, that's rough.
right.
Yeah.
The bereavement time.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Finding the right words can be so difficult. And that's what I was saying just a bit ago, that if you really relieve yourself of this sense of, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to say, you can say that. You can say that to this person and just let them know, I'm here to just listen. If you feel like talking, I'm here. That's really the most important words that people can hear, that it's okay to talk about that. And then just really listening and taking your cues from them. For some people, based on how they grew up with grief being modeled, it might be really uncomfortable, and taking your. So I just had a little feedback. Did you hear that?
I'm sorry, that was me. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
KDJ asks a good question. How do you approach someone who is going through grief?
Yeah. There's always because I'm a heart math, I don't know if you guys know about the work from the Institute of Heart Math, but I've been doing their work for many, many years. And I think that's why it was so easy for me when I learned about the grief recovery method, and their whole take on being with grievers is to be a heart with ears. And so it's really just acknowledging with a person, and again, kind of taking their cue. I know when I came back to the office, I was very open to hugs. I knew I was in a safe place, that tears could come. And I knew that, with my coworkers, it was a natural expression of that. And you have to really kind of pay attention to what they are, how they are being in their grief. But really the best thing you can do is just to say, I'm here for you. If you feel like talking, if you would like.
So opening up the communication, just allowing the communication, just being available. Simple.
Yeah. Letting people know you're a safe person to be around. And what that means is, safe means you have an open heart for listening and being supportive. And you can say, if there's anything that you want, if there's a way I can support you, please let me know.
Okay. Daniel also, Daniel was a guest of mine. I must want to start with that. I said one of the hardest jobs as a parent is trying to educate our adopted children on all of their autoimmune diseases. Any thoughts on how to help them process that? It's nothing they did. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And let me add to that. He also adds 4 of our children are 12 and younger with HSP, Hashimoto's, Raynaud's, I'm not sure, and celiac. So
yeah, well, I think really letting them have have a voice. I mean, some days they just may want to really express, like, this just sucks. I can't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
allowing for some of that, allowing them to have their feelings about it, um, and and supporting them in just continuing to move forward, and especially with children, because they can be up one minute and really down the next, and making it safe for them to feel like they can be all of that.
Kids have a lot of resilience, right? I know we know this. I've worked with kids in the past, and kids really have a way of being able to overcome hardships in their lives, and you want to give them the tools. You want to give them options, teach them about having their own options that work for them. I think that's always key in any of these given situations, when we talk about disability or mental health or trauma, and just being able to move forward through these times.
Yeah, and checking in with them if they feel like they may be forming some thoughts for themselves, like just continuing to check in about, do they want to be with other children that have this autoimmune? Do they want to know more about it? Like, just continuing to allow them to process what's happening for them, whether they want to know more about it, and what it means, if they want to be around other people like them. Sometimes that can be isolating for them too, if they feel like, all the other kids in school aren't like me, or, just whatever those thoughts are that they're forming. Yeah, there's a really great book. Let me, give me a second. Let me make sure I have it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Melissa, I want to say hi, Melissa. Thank you for being here. She says, oh my goodness, Daniel, what a wonderful person you are for doing that for them. Daniel is a wonderful person. He's such a huge heart, wonderful, wonderful dad, wonderful husband, him and his wife. Him and his partner, and they really do such a wonderful job. So
that's great.
But your book, feel free to share about
this. So this is a book from the Greif Recovery Institute, and it's called Helping Children Grieve. I think it'll be a wonderful, wonderful book for you, because it actually lays out a process of how, and I apologize, I've looked through it, but it has a very specific way to help your child name what they're feeling, which is a really important part, again, for children to be able to experience it all of the ups and the downs that they're feeling. Specific to loss, though, I think that would be a really great book for you to have. And anytime there is that sense of just overwhelming sadness or upset or whatever it is, you can do that checklist. I think it's called an energy checklist, and it's a back and forth process with your child. Yeah.
That is so great. And I know you said energy in your website. You use that word energy in your website.
Yeah, and actually, if you go to my website, energym.org, and you look under resources, that book is listed there. All the books from the Greif Recovery Institute are there.
This is not your ebook. Not your ebooks?
Nope, I have a lot of free ebooks, and then I have recommended resources. Yeah, it's under.
I have to put this in the chat. Let me see. Here is the ebooks.
Yep, you can find it right there.
And LinkedIn, I'm sorry, LinkedIn, I have to apologize, because I know LinkedIn doesn't send back my messages. So let me go into my LinkedIn chat. You might hear feedback now. Sorry. Okay. That's me. That was me. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. There it goes for LinkedIn. I wish StreamYard would help me and connect the LinkedIn comments so I could send them out that way, like I can to YouTube and Twitch. But that's okay. We've got all your links here, and I'm also going to put your book.
Oh, and thank you. If some of you on the line, people purchased my book today, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I will be home in 2 days and sign those and get them off in the mail to you. I'm just away from home, about 600 miles away from home, but there's still smoke. I'm in Northern California.
What's the name of this book that is so hot right now? What happened? Like, let's go ahead and let's share.
Yeah, so the name of my book that actually was a part of my healing, it's called Growing Through Grief, The Alchemy of Healing from Loss. And it was at a period of time I had experienced a couple deaths right on top of one another. And now 4 out of 6 of my immediate family were gone, and I was just kind of turned upside down and inside out. And that is when I found the grief recovery method, which I've mentioned a couple times. It's also when I wrote my book, and it was through that process of writing my book that I sort of synthesized all these ideas and thoughts and lots of resources that I had found that were helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have your website here as well. And, oh goodness. Hold on.
Yeah.
Copy paste doesn't want to work, friends, and I'm so sorry. Like energym.org. www.energym.org is your website. Yes. Okay. Yes. We're gonna throw this up right now for you.
You know, I thought one of the useful things to talk about is grief recovery. People often ask me about that term, like how do you know people are stuck in grief? And one of the things that I talk about is if memories that are coming up always take you to pain, that should be an indicator that there is unfinished emotional business there, unfinished emotional business. And one of the things that happened for me, I did participate in some support groups, but what happened for me, I felt the one I had found, I didn't find as helpful because I just kept telling the story. And the grief recovery method, what I liked about it when I found it, it was a process that was very educational and structured and action-oriented. And by the end, people always, they don't believe me when I say this, but by the end of 8 weeks, you complete your relationship with pain, isolation, loneliness of that grief that you are holding on to. So it was, you know, I like effective things. I like things that work, and I like to know that I did the work and had someone just kind of guiding the way. That's why I love books so much. Sometimes I find some books and just, wow.
Yeah, that's good. And, you know, I'm the same way. I'm brutally driven, and I like to get the information and then consume it and then find a way to really put it to practice, you know. And so I get that. So, yeah, I mean, you've been through a lot, and you talked a little bit in the intro that I provided. I know that you shared about being in the military, and we touched a little bit about that, and just all the years that you were going through this grieving, not knowing what it was. And I know that we talked a little bit about mislabeling. I think this is a good time to talk about maybe mislabeling, or how you are labeled something when you're going through something else. And this could be such as if you're in the grieving process, you could think it's like mental health related.
Yeah. And that is, you know, anxiety and depression are often diagnosed, and what they're really, I don't want to say covering up, but what may be at the foundation of what's going on is grief, is loss, and just not having had the appropriate tools to move through your grief. Anxiety is a very common, and I explain it this way. I always think about like these different levels of my body. We have my physical body, I have my emotional body, I have my mental body, and I have my spiritual body. That's how I think of it. You don't need to think of it that way, but for the purposes of this example, I always feel like, oh my gosh, when things are going on that emotional level, like it's just going to town and I don't want to deal with it and I'm just ignoring it, it starts to create these signals. Like I'm trying to intellectually solve a problem that I actually need to go into my emotional body to solve. And so if we don't allow ourselves to actually recognize, oh, so let me give the example of my military dependent childhood, which again, for some people, they may not have this experience, but for me, by the time I was 15, having lost friends, pets, schools, home, churches, what else? Just community.
Clubs, communities, just groups that you've already built something with, whether it was,
So 8 times by the time I was 15. And so at the age of 15, I just couldn't figure out why it was a good idea to stay on this planet. Like that's how that's how deep it was. Like the suicidality, like I didn't even know that word until many, many years later, but it was in me. Not that I would have ever been able to do anything. I come from a very close-knit family, which thank goodness. But just as an adolescent, feeling that and not knowing that, oh, no one ever gave me the context that all these things, that's a lot of loss and it's cause for grief. Yeah.
You said 2 things that just rang a bell in my head, and I'm like, I want to jump in and say something. And one was grieving is loss, does not only mean death. So it could be losing a job, losing, like you said, a pet, moving. That's really what triggered me to think is like moving up and uprooting, like what it does. Consider what it does to your children, right? Just be considerate of how they may react to a move that to you is one thing, but in their eyes and in their experiences, they may start to feel grief. They might start to eventually show grief. And even though it's not quote unquote death and what we associate grieving and death or loss of life, but loss in general, that can just capture so much more. Loss of your health, right? We can grieve when our health is, when medical issues start to take over and we're going to grieve the loss of what we're losing, a part of ourselves. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And then the second one was about suicide awareness. I always like to put up the helpline just in case, and it's okay to ask individuals if they're feeling like hurting themselves, or if they feel like are having thoughts of suicide. Be specific. Let them know that you're there. You can see that they're in pain and that you just want to help. You just want to understand. No judgment. No telling them what they need to do other than, get you some help. So I always think it's important, even when we talk about depression and we talk about trauma, we talk about the lows of the low, and that's the lowest of the lows, right, is when we're really in that frame of mind. So, and this is very close to my heart with suicide. So I really do appreciate any opportunity to bring awareness to that or share that opportunity to encourage anyone, like, you're not alone, never ever alone. And it's
thank you. And connecting that to grieving together. Someone had made a comment, it's so important to grieve together, to know that we're in community. Yeah, oh, Melissa, yeah. So many losses. Yeah. One of the things too, again, with children.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah. How old is your son? That book, you may also want to check out that book, Helping Children Grieve, When Children Grieve. You'll see it. It's the one with the children title. But yeah, just allowing your child to talk about the feelings. Yeah, right when he lost a teacher, a cat, his mom. Yeah. Yeah, 16.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Melissa. We appreciate it. We're glad that we could, at least offer you some sort of like, oh, okay, it's not necessarily depression. It could be something else that's affecting him, and just give you more opportunity to move that needle. So just being able to be there for them now, and a new understanding of what could possibly be going on. Labels, I tell you.
And allowing just some kind of recognition, acknowledgement, and this is where a lot of people who work in different modalities with grief, there's so much great work around art therapy, which simply could be, when I hear art, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not an artist. But I have gotten really used to getting, and this I think, especially for adolescents, just getting colored pencils out. And, honey, if that emotion had a color, what would it look like? Just pick a color and then just go to town with drawing, like getting it some way. Like that's how art therapy, I love art therapists. I'm not at all an art therapist.
We're talking about painting in the chat, so we got some few artists in here. Yes.
Oh, lovely. Yes. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say around leaving, if just that aspect of leaving home, leaving places, anytime you can think of some kind of ritual to do, like, like if you're leaving a house, going through the rooms and thanking each room and having a good memory of here's what I'm taking with me. So we want to have, grief is about being able to acknowledge the happy, the good, the bad, and the sour. I call it the sweet, the sour, the good, yeah.
That's great. Hi, Jenny. How are you, my friend? Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your support.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny. So yes. Something to look forward to. Thanks for being here, Melissa. Thank you for contributing to our conversation. Honestly, we really appreciate that. And again, I know these conversations, people see them and it's like, oh, who wants to talk about that? But there need to be conversations that need to be had. And we need to find ways to say it's okay to talk about these things. So, Daniel, rituals are key for our son with autism. Yes.
Yeah.
We understand that. Thank you, Jenny, appreciate this great
conversation. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah.
Sweet.
I think one of the keys for everyone, and as we're modeling this for our children, especially Melissa, for your son, is to know that this is what's happening now, and we're moving through it, especially at that age, because I remember feeling like, really? Why? Because it had this sense of it's never going to end, like it's not going to change. So laying that foundation, especially with our kids, like this isn't permanent. This is how you feel. This is how you feel now, and it changes and it moves. Yeah,
that's true. It's true. And I want to touch back about it's not 5 per se stages, but it's just a fluctuation of emotions, ongoing. Just today it's this, tomorrow it's that, for whatever reason. With There doesn't have to be any sort of quote unquote explanation needed. It's just allowing the emotions to come as they come, making sure that we're showing our support to our loved ones that we know, and not taking things personal. Oh, goodness. Let's not take things personal, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so important. Let's not make it about us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys are such great comments in the chat.
Thank you. Yes. Finding Cherry. I appreciate you. Wait, not you. Wait, your chat is going too fast. Finding Cherry. Yes. I will talk to you about YouTube and what happened there, but thank you for being here. I'm glad you made it on Twitch. It is really an important subject. And we want to encourage these conversations. We want to encourage individuals to reach out to others and other people not to get weird if they get that question like, hey, because we want to encourage people to reach out. So don't be offended when someone reaches out to you and then you think something's wrong, right? I mean, there's two sides to that coin is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, anyway, don't take things personal. That's right. Yes. Wow, this hour flew by. We're at minute 57.
Flew by. Wow.
Flew by. Great conversation. We cannot, 1 hour just does not give us enough time to talk about all the wonderful things, all the important things. But I definitely just want to offer, if there's any final thoughts you may have that you feel really need to be shared, you want to leave with anyone in the chat. And then, just your last final words on, where people can reach you at. You're on LinkedIn. They can connect with you on LinkedIn. You're available for coaching. If someone's grieving, they can reach out to you. That you're another person available for supporting, to help support them and to give them resources.
Yeah, and all that. Thank you for you put so many links in there. That was so nice. Yes, thank you. Yeah, at energym.org under the grief support, you can see the ways that I do one-on-one coaching with the grief recovery method for 8 weeks. And also there's a group program coming up starting September 23rd at time zone friendly time. I put it at 4:30.
Good.
Pacific, so it's 7:30 Eastern. Yeah. So, yeah. And I honestly feel like the main message is, let's be human and feel our grief and know that it moves. Know that we're not going to stay stuck in it. And if you feel stuck, reach out. Either get some of the books, the ebooks on there, or join the Grief Recovery Method class or the coaching with me, because it does move. There is the other side. Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Jenny, thank you. We love this conversation. Yes. Tell your friends, your guests, autoimmune guests about my show, and I'll tell them about your show. You're so sweet. Hi, Adam. Being and stopping through. People just hope to feel heard and supported. Absolutely, fundamentally, allowing the space, allowing the time for them, giving them the respect to express what they need, and just listening.
Being a heart with ears.
Yes, I know that Dan liked that. Dan had made that comment before, so. All right, Miss Michele. Well, thank you for a wonderful hour, a wonderful conversation. I hope we got to break some stigmas. I hope we brought lots of awareness and we encouraged acceptance on this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, everybody. This was a very nice, active chat room and conversation. Thank you, DJ, so much.
Oh, no problem, Michele. Well, feel free to hang out. If you want to go, you can go. We're going to go ahead and do our outro. And we're going to wave and say goodbye to everyone and say goodnight and say thank you for being here. And please connect with Michele. She's got so much to offer. And you're going to see her on other shows now. You know that, right? Yeah. We're going to share her message. It's such an important message that, really needs some attention, that you're available. So thank you. All right. Comments. Oh, thank you. childhood can cause damage. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Beautiful, safe, loving, calming night. Thank you, Finding Cherry. Thank you, Saturday Night. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone that came in before, and Carl. And I just, I can't remember everybody's names, but we should say goodbye. So good night. See everybody next Monday.